Hey, welcome to Swedish with Steve. Here I've put together a short lesson on how grammatical gender works in Swedish. In Swedish, there are two genders, or genus, common and neuter. The Swedes call these two genders utrum and neutrum. Many second language students, however, prefer to call them N-gender and T-gender, respectively, due to the standard declensions that they take on. I'll start by giving us some examples to work with. An example of a word of common gender, or utrum, is hund, which means dog. An example of a word of neuter gender, or neutrum, is hus, or house. Words of common gender take on the indefinite article en. Det här är en hund. This is a dog. Words of neuter gender, on the other hand, take on the indefinite article ett. Det här är ett hus. This is a house. As you can see, Swedish uses indefinite articles in basically the same way as English. Definite articles, on the other hand, are used slightly differently. In definite form, common gender nouns take on the definite suffix en. Det här är hunden. This is the dog. As you see here, rather than preceding dog in the simple noun phrase, the dog, Swedish tacks on the definite article to the end of the noun. Hund becomes hunden. In the case of hus, the word becomes huset. Det här är huset. This is the house. Not that hard, right? While it gets a little more complicated when you've got an adjective in a definite noun phrase. For example, den snälla hunden, the friendly dog. As you can see, the phrase contains two instances of the definite article, one at the end of the noun and one before the adjective. Don't let this scare you away. It's actually a very simple rule. When you have anything within a definite noun phrase that precedes the noun itself, you add another instance of the definite article to the beginning of the phrase. This is a way to mark where the phrase begins and ends. For common gender noun phrases, the initial definite article is den, as in the example. For neuter gender noun phrases, it's det, as in det gula huset, the yellow house. So, that's all about Swedish gender and articles. Before I go, I would like to emphasize that the two Swedish genders do not correspond to masculine and feminine in the Romance languages. The Swedish language originally had three genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter, but the first two have since been meshed together to form the common gender. That's why, for example, man and kvinna have the same grammatical gender, namely utrum. I hope you've learned something today. Glad sommar!